To many people, China looks like the world's next big superpower. Some even say it's already there. Big cities, fast trains, tech giants, it all looks impressive. What if I told you there are facts about China that show its economy is collapsing? It's crazy to think that there are entire cities in China built for nobody, or that youth unemployment got so bad the government just stopped reporting it. These aren't conspiracy theories. They're real facts from a collapsing economy that feels more like fiction than reality. Let's start with the ghost cities of nowhere. China has built more homes than people need, literally. In places like Ordos, in Inner Mongolia, or the new city of Kangbashi, you'll find thousands of empty apartment buildings. No people, no cars, just silence. For years, China's economy grew fast thanks to real estate. In fact, around 30% of China's GDP was tied to property, building homes, selling land, and producing materials. That's more than double the global average. Here's the twist. Homes in China aren't built when you pay for them. They're pre-sold, sometimes years in advance. Buyers pay up front, hoping the apartment gets finished. But when companies like Evergrande ran out of money, many buildings stopped mid-construction. Angry buyers started a rare form of protest, refusing to pay their mortgages. In 2022, this happened in more than 100 cities. The government scrambled to calm the chaos, offering bailouts and ordering banks to step in. But confidence in the housing market hasn't recovered. Local governments made money selling land. But now, these places are financial black holes. In 2021, Evergrande, one of China's largest property developers, defaulted on more than $300 billion of debt. Evergrande's debt exceeded the entire GDP of Greece, $214 billion, and Portugal, $253 billion during that same year. This single company's debt surpassed the total annual economic output of these entire European nations. It sent shockwaves through the global financial system, but that was just the tip of the iceberg. Evergrande had borrowed huge sums to build apartments it hadn't even started. When the cash dried up, construction halted. Thousands of Chinese families who had prepaid for homes were left with nothing but debt and anger. Since then, dozens of other developers have also defaulted, including Country Garden, another major name. Country Garden defaulted on October 18, 2023, after failing to make a payment on a $500 million bond by the final deadline. At the time of default, the company's total liabilities stood at approximately 1.36 trillion yuan, about $190 billion, as of June 2023. This default was officially declared a failure to pay event by a panel of global banks and investors, which triggered potential payouts on credit default swaps. Country Garden had previously warned investors that it would be unable to meet its offshore debt obligations. According to a 2023 report by Baiki Research, the vacancy rate in Chinese cities reached 12%, and in some regions, it's even higher. These aren't abandoned slums, they're modern apartments, many still under construction, bought by people who never moved in. Why? Because homes are seen as investments, not living spaces. But when no one moves in, the buildings decay, property values drop, and banks holding mortgages start sweating. Imagine a giant pile of IOUs so big it could tower over Mount Everest. That's what's happening in China with its local governments and state-owned companies. These groups have borrowed a lot of money, some of it never officially recorded. This kind of debt is called hidden debt, and it's everywhere. Local governments borrow through special companies called LGFVs, local government financing vehicles. These companies take loans to build roads, subways, and other big projects, but the money has to be paid back. The problem is, many of these investments don't make enough money to cover the costs. Estimates say this hidden debt could be as high as $11 trillion. It's risky because no one knows exactly how much debt there is, and if something goes wrong, it could cause a financial crisis. Local governments and state-owned enterprises are drowning in hidden, unreported debt. For the first time in 60 years, China's population is actually shrinking. In 2023, the country lost 2.75 million people. Fewer people means fewer workers, fewer taxpayers, and fewer consumers. The biggest reason? Couples aren't having many kids. Raising children in China is expensive, and after decades of the one-child policy, people have gotten used to smaller families. The government has tried to fix this by allowing up to 3 children per family, but it hasn't helped much. If this continues, there will be more old people and fewer young workers, a big problem for the economy. Water is life, but in China, that lifeline is quickly running dry. Over 400 out of 660 Chinese cities are now suffering from some form of water shortage. That's over 60% of the urban population. And in the north, where Beijing and industrial giants like Hebei are located, things are dire. The per capita water supply is less than 500 cubic meters per year, below the UN's absolute scarcity threshold. But here's the catch. While parts of the country are drying out, others are drowning. In 2024, record rainfall in southern China triggered catastrophic flooding, destroying crops, homes, and roads. So, in one half of the country, people can't get clean water to drink. In the other, they're trying not to get swept away. It's a double disaster, and it's already impacting food production, electricity, since hydropower is a major source, and public health. For decades, China focused on feeding 1.4 billion people, and for the most part, it succeeded. But now, that system is cracking. Climate change, soil degradation, shrinking farmland, and water shortages are squeezing Chinese agriculture from every angle. The government wants 92% grain self-sufficiency by 2033, but right now, it's stuck around 84% and falling. In 2024, wheat crops were hit hard by floods, corn production declined due to drought, meat prices are rising, and more Chinese families are cutting back on nutritious foods simply because they can't afford it. That's why Beijing is pouring billions into vertical farms, lab-grown meat, and rice experiments in deserts. But while the technology is flashy, the message behind it is serious. China is struggling to feed itself. China's youth jobless rate hit over 21%. That means 1 in 5 young people who wanted a job couldn't find one. In some cities, the number was even worse. So, what did the government do? They stopped publishing the data. Yes, really. The excuse was that they were improving the method, but critics saw it as a cover-up. It's hard to fix a problem you won't admit. Graduates are entering a weak job market with fewer openings and lower pay. Tech companies are cutting back. Real estate is frozen. Many graduates are now lying flat. A growing movement where young people give up on traditional success. The pressure is huge. Parents expect kids to support them, especially under China's aging system. But now, even highly educated graduates are delivering food or working part-time to survive. Youth unemployment isn't just an economic issue, it's a time bomb. Disillusioned young people lead to social unrest, falling birth rates, and a brain drain. In China, many people work what's called the 9-6-6 schedule, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., 6 days a week. It's exhausting. And now, more and more young people are saying, enough. Instead of chasing high-paying jobs and promotions, they're choosing to lie flat, a quiet protest against the pressure to work non-stop. Some take low-stress jobs, others quit altogether. It's a big cultural shift, showing how tired young people are of the rat race. This isn't just a trend, it's a warning. When a country's young workforce checks out, it affects productivity, innovation, and long-term growth. China is known for fast growth, but are the numbers real? Sometimes, sometimes not. Several provinces have been caught inflating their GDP to look good. Why? Because local leaders are often judged by how fast their area grows. So some fudge the numbers to impress their bosses in Beijing. The problem is, when data can't be trusted, it becomes hard for investors and businesses to make smart decisions. Even inside China, economists are starting to worry that the official numbers don't tell the full story. Doubting if we are telling you the truth? Don't hesitate to check our references. China is building wind turbines and solar farms faster than anyone in the world. That's the good news. But here's the bad news. Over 60% of China's electricity still comes from coal, and China buys more coal than any country on Earth. Even with clean energy growing, coal is still king. Why? Because it's cheap, and China needs a lot of power to run its cities and factories. To make things worse, China also buys oil and gas from countries like Russia. That means its energy future depends on foreign politics, which is risky. One bad international deal, and lights could go out in parts of the country. So yes, China is trying to go green, but for now, it's still stuck in the coal age. Imagine walking into a store and seeing the same product you used to buy, only now it costs way more. That's what's happening to millions of Chinese consumers. Because of the trade war, prices for imported goods, especially cosmetics and luxury items, have gone up. Some retailers tried to eat the cost. Others passed it on to customers. The result? Consumers stopped buying and stores started bleeding money. Some brands tried rerouting goods through other countries to dodge tariffs, but that's just a band-aid. Retailers are now being forced to make hard decisions. Layoffs, price hikes, or completely changing where they do business. So next time someone says trade wars are easy to win, show them what's happening in China's malls. China used to be the world's factory, but things are changing. Companies are leaving China and moving to places like Vietnam, India, and Mexico. Why? Costs in China are going up. The government has become stricter, and tensions with the US and other countries are making businesses nervous. In 2024 alone, Chinese companies invested almost $5 billion in Vietnam. That's a clear sign. Factories are moving out, and that means fewer jobs at home. Jack Ma was once the face of Chinese tech. The billionaire founder of Alibaba and Ant Group was everywhere until he wasn't. In 2020, Ma gave a speech criticizing China's financial system. A few days later, the government canceled Ant Group's IPO, which was set to be the biggest in history. Then, Jack Ma disappeared for months.
Here on the news track, Chinese billionaire Jack Ma is reportedly missing after criticizing regulators in China and the state-owned banks during a speech. Ma, the founder of the Alibaba Group, is one of Asia's richest men and hasn't been spotted for over 2 months. Speculations about his whereabouts intensified when Ma failed to appear as a judge in the final episode of his own reality show, Africa's Business Heroes. Ma hasn't been spotted publicly since his Ant Group's IPO was suspended by authorities in Beijing in November. He was advised not to leave the country by the Chinese government. The campaign against Ma intensified after he attacked Chinese regulators in a public address and called them out for being behind the times. He also referred to Chinese banks as pawn shops.
He returned quietly, but he's no longer the loud, confident business leader he once was. His fall sent a message: don't challenge the system. That fear has since spread to other entrepreneurs. China once had a booming tech scene. Apps, games, education startups, and fintech companies were growing fast. But in the last few years, the government has cracked down hard. Gaming companies were told to limit screen time for kids. Online education platforms were banned from making profits. Fintech companies like Ant Group were pulled back. All of this has scared investors and slowed down innovation. Instead of pushing forward, companies are now playing it safe. And when innovation slows, the economy follows. You'd think more products in the market would be a good thing, right? But in China's case, it's turning into an economic nightmare. Since the US slapped tariffs on Chinese exports, factories in China started dumping those same goods into the local market. Now, imagine a country flooded with electronics, clothes, appliances, stuff. People just aren't buying fast enough. What happens next? Prices drop, and keep dropping. In fact, China's consumer prices have fallen for 2 months in a row, while factory prices have been falling for over 2 years. That's not just a statistic, it's a big red flag. Economists call it a deflationary death spiral. And when prices keep sinking, companies stop investing, workers lose jobs, and consumer confidence crashes. It's like quicksand. Once you're in, it's hard to climb out. China is getting old, fast. The number of elderly people is rising, while the number of working-age citizens is shrinking. Right now, there are over 280 million people aged 60 and above. That's nearly the entire population of the US. But here's the real problem. China's pension system isn't ready. With fewer young people working and more retirees collecting benefits, the money is running out. Some provinces are already delaying retirement payments or cutting benefits. To cope, the government is considering raising the retirement age. But that's unpopular. Imagine telling factory workers in their 60s to work even longer. Xi Jinping isn't just China's president, he's the most powerful Chinese leader since Mao. And he's using that power to tighten his grip on every corner of Chinese life. From tech crackdowns to media censorship, Xi's policies are all about control. The party watches what you post, where you invest, and how you speak about the economy. Even economists and analysts are getting silenced if their views don't match the government's positive energy narrative. In 2023, several economic experts were barred from publishing data on youth unemployment and debt levels. Why? Because the numbers looked bad. And this climate of fear, it's scaring off businesses, startups, and foreign investors. It's hard to build the next big thing when you don't know if the party will shut it down overnight. Let's talk about the banks. Not the big ones in Shanghai, the smaller regional banks, the ones holding the savings of farmers, factory workers, and shopkeepers. These banks are falling apart. Since 2022, over 290 small banks have been forced to merge, shut down, or get bailed out. Many are linked to risky loans in real estate and local government projects, both of which are now drowning in debt. And it gets worse. In 2022, in the city of Zhengzhou, depositors showed up to their local banks to withdraw money, but couldn't. Their accounts had been frozen. Protests followed. And in typical fashion, the police, not the banks, responded. So even though China's central bank keeps promising stability, the truth is clear. People are losing faith in the banking system. And when that happens, money disappears fast. As China's economy struggles, something scary is happening. Crime is going up, people are losing jobs, wages are delayed, and savings are running out. That's making people angry and desperate. In 2024 alone, protests shot up by over 27%. From factory workers demanding pay to families protesting failing banks, the streets are getting louder. At the same time, there's been a rise in violent attacks, knife crimes, arson, and even explosions. Many of these are personal revenge stories, but they're all signs of a deeper problem. Stress, poverty, and hopelessness are boiling over. China's leaders are trying to keep things quiet, but silence can't hide what's really happening. Imagine waking up one day and finding out your bank won't give you your money. That's what happened in Henan, China. People tried to withdraw cash, and their accounts were frozen. This isn't just about banks. It's happening in real estate, tech jobs, and rural towns too. People feel like the system is failing them, and they're starting to fight back. With more economic pain and less freedom to speak out, the pressure is building, and when pressure builds long enough, it explodes. China's economy isn't just slowing down, it's cracking in places no one expected. From rising crime to empty skyscrapers, this story is far from over. If you find these facts eye-opening, smash that like button, hit subscribe, and turn on the bell so you don't miss what's coming next, because we're just getting started.